All right. Good afternoon. We're just going to wait for about one more minute before we get started. So I will mute everybody and then we'll get going. Okay. No time left. Everybody for being here today. We really appreciate you taking your time to join us. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Amanda Regneris, Director of the Americas Marketing Team at Apparavi. We have Sean Liu, our Technical Director at Apparavi, and Adam Smith, our Director of Programs and Partner Sales at Apparavi. One thing I promise you today is that we will not keep you long. We will not kill you with PowerPoint slides, and we will keep this as conversational as possible. I'd also like to remind everyone that's here that at the end of this, if you sign up for a demo, of course, we have to have a cheesy offer, but we will give you guys a $50 DoorDash gift card because we are so excited about what we have to present today and want to keep you interested as well as have an opportunity to show off our platform when this is done. I'm going to just cover a few things today. What we're going to talk about here is on the slide. I'll start the conversation in one more second, but just from a housekeeping perspective, if you have questions during this webinar, go ahead and definitely interrupt us at any time. We'd like to keep it as conversational as possible. So go ahead and locate the live question icon, and we'll be happy to answer those for you either in the chat itself or we'll answer them live. What I'd like to do right now is just kind of remind you why we're here. We're going to be talking about unstructured data, the growth of unstructured data, the Apparavi assessment program and our partnership opportunities. And at the end, we're going to hit on some pretty important facts about how our partners can utilize the assessment program to establish and create service offerings for their existing base and net new logos. Obviously, we want to make sure that we show you how you can make money with the partner program as well as the assessment program, and we're going to do that. But before we get started, just to get the conversation going, I'd like to hand it over to Adam to talk about why, the question of why are we here? Why is unstructured data growing so quickly? And, kind of help us understand that, Adam, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Amanda. And thanks for having me today. So that's a great question. And there's really no single reason for the rapid increase in data volume. And that's one of the problems we face. There are many drivers behind it, though. Population growth has some responsibility. More people equates to more human knowledge. But the major contributors to data growth is the ever-increasing number of technology advancements, scientific discoveries, and other developments that arise from that human knowledge. That plays a bigger role in data creation. So in the recent years, we've seen a massive amount of data generation from things like social media, mobile devices, transaction processing systems, enterprise software, GPS equipment, everything like that, and the Internet of Things and more. So data is really created with every click, every swipe, every search, stream, or share. And the bulk of that data, which accounts for approximately 90%, is unstructured. And I think we'd all agree that this creation of data is a challenge for many organizations because of the very nature of unstructured data.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. And I think just even as consumers of data these days, right, everything is on a device or a platform of some sort. Obviously, it's the challenges that ever growing, amount of data that we have, even down to us as consumers with our iPhones and iCloud and our laptops. And where's the pictures of my kids? And how can I get them? Sean, I would love for you to explain kind of just what are some of those challenges with unstructured data? What does that present to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So let's kind of define what unstructured data is. Right. So unstructured data is basically anything that is not stored within a structured like database. Right. So any files that you create, whether it be in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, PDFs, anything you download from the internet, right? And text files, et cetera. All of those are considered unstructured data. And in most environments, unstructured data makes up 80 to 90% of their overall data footprint, right? So this is a huge amount of data that essentially they have no visibility into, right? Because it's a Word document, but you don't know what's in that Word document. You don't know, where that Word document came from, but you're just storing it, right? So this continues to consume your data footprint. And to kind of build on what Adam was talking about, why data was growing so fast, there was actually an article published by Forbes in 2020 that talked about explosive data growth over the past decade. And just to give you an example, right, that over the last decade from 2010 to 2020, data grew at over 5,000%, right? So that's a huge amount of data growth. And now there's these large data sets that are sitting out there that people are just storing, backing up, sending to the cloud without any rhyme or reason, right? Without any visibility into what that contains.
Great. Thanks, Sean. So actually, it's a great leader into the fact that we're all on this call because we understand, we've got a problem that we want to solve. The partners that are on this call, what is this massive amount of 5,000% of a year of data growth mean? It means more spend. It means, more unstructured kind of chaos in terms of data and where customers have it located. And as partners and as trusted advisors for our customers, we should be aware of that. We should be aware of it. We should be able to help our customers. We should be able to have a solution for them, which is where Aparavi comes in and where that's really the problem that we're solving as an organization and as a platform. With that said, that's, obviously we've kind of laid the foundation of the problem we're solving, unstructured data growth and the inability to manage that. I'd love to kick it over to Adam to talk a little bit about who Aparavi is, and then we'll get down into a little bit more of the fine tooth information about the problems that the platform solves, as well as opportunities that it provides for our partners.
Sure. Thanks, Amanda. So who are we, right? We are a privately held software as a service technology firm that was founded in 2017 by our CEO, Adrian Knapp. We have an executive team with a proven track record of working in the startup space, growing companies, and really that came from the data protection space. We are an independently funded and privately held organization. And we actually have our U.S. headquarters located in Santa Monica, California, as well as Columbus, Ohio, where I'm sitting right now, beautiful Columbus, Ohio. And we really focus, on some key areas, right? Intelligently identifying and indexing unstructured data, automated classification policies, as well as policy-based actions. And over the past few years, we've been recognized by a number of different organizations, including Gartner in 2018, and most recently CRN, for our technology innovations, our stance as an emerging vendor, and also in the Big Data 100 space.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. And so we've talked about the problem. We've talked about who Aparavi is. And I think I'd like to really just delve into some really high key points as to what the platform does in terms of solving that unstructured data problem. Sean, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely, Amanda. So let's talk about what the core product values are first, right? What problems are we trying to help our customers solve, right? And these are our key focus areas for the platform itself, right? The first capability really revolves around data assessment. And when we talk about data assessment, it's really about hygiene of that data set, right? Being able to identify what's inside of your SLAs, what's outside of your SLAs, what should you retain, what should you discard, or what should you store in a more effective and efficient manner, right? So this is not just about going in and just, deleting half of their data set, right? Because data is a really valuable commodity, but they just need to be able to gain some insights from that data so they can make more intelligent decisions based on that data, not just from how much storage consumption is my data set looking like today, but what can I do to make it more cost effective, right? Do I just have to keep buying these filers or file servers and local storage, or should I start looking at the cloud, right, and purchase something more efficient and cost effective. But then how do I decide what do I keep on-prem? What do I move to the cloud, right? How do I make the most of the budget that I have allocated, right? And that's what the data assessment can really shine a light on, is to really give them that visibility, really identify files that maybe haven't been accessed in a number of years, which they may still need to retain for, regulation, compliance, what have you. But if it's not being accessed regularly, do they really need to store it on their really expensive filer, right? Maybe they can do that more effectively elsewhere. The second product value revolves around intelligent data management. And this is really kind of the next step, right? We kind of take a tiered approach to data management. So first you want to do the data assessment, find out what you have, what's being used, what's not being used. Intelligent data management takes it further and can be something more strategic, right? So they have a file server that holds some really sensitive data, and they want to be able to shed some light on what type of content and get some context as to what type of unstructured data is stored within that, secure server. Then they can apply our indexing and automated classification engine. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to go in and index all of the contents of these documents. And there's, over 1,000 different file types that we support. So it doesn't matter if it's, not standardized, right? We do support a lot of different file types, and we can go in and index every single word within every single one of those unstructured files. And then after that, we can actually automatically classify the documents for you, right? So there's different policies, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, but we have a lot of different policies that are pre-built out of the box. So you don't have to go and, create your own type of logic to find what you're looking for. It's already there, straight out of the box, available to you to leverage immediately, right? So now I can identify what type of sensitive information I have, whether it be HIPAA, PII, credit card numbers, social security numbers, etc. And then that brings me to our third step, right? It revolves around data lifecycle management. We talked about that a little bit with the data assessment, but data lifecycle management is something that we do very intelligently and allow customers to be able to create a policy around it. So they're not having to go there and manually do things, right? It just happens automatically on a day-by-day basis, right? So as things age out, we can automatically move it. As somebody writes something that contains secure information, we can automatically move it to a secure store. Any type of policies you can really think of, you can wrap a data lifecycle management policy around it. You can even do manual tagging, right? If for those of you that are familiar with vSphere tags within VMs, right? Very similar concept. They can create manual tags. They can do things like based on, location, or tag it with, I want to archive this, or tag it with, this is Bob's stuff, right? Whatever you want to do, you can manually tag it and then also wrap a policy around that tag as well. So now let's just give you a quick overview of the platform, right? Of course, this is much better via a live demonstration, and we'll talk about how to get a live demonstration after today's webinar. But these are just a couple of screen captures of what our platform looks like, right? And of course, it's constantly evolving to be bigger and better. But the greatest thing about the platform is that it's fully customizable. So it's going to give you some really great dynamic views. And depending on where you're at within the organization and what object you've selected in the organization on the left, you're going to get a different dashboard and a different view, right? What this gives you is the flexibility to look at granular objects, like let's say a file server within my Atlanta office, right? I can look at just that file server in the Atlanta office, or I can look at a higher level and see my entire company as a whole. And when I look at my entire company as a whole, I'm going to get a federated dashboard that's going to show me everything that I need to know from a holistic view of my entire company, right? So, and it's very easy to navigate, especially if you're familiar with vSphere. Our object tree is a lot like vSphere, right? And of course, it's just a web browser based, so you can just pull up your Google Chrome browser, log into the portal, and be able to quickly access these views and take a look at the dashboard that you need to see. And the great thing about the platform is it is natively multi-tenant, right? So you can create sub-clients, and those sub-clients can create their own sub-clients and maintain that multi-tenancy in that, they don't have to worry about their files being exposed to another client that's parallel to them. So identification, we talked a little bit about this. This is the second product value point, right? It revolves around the ability to index and classify important information. And we actually have pre-built over 140 different classification policies in the platform that users can just check a box and select it, right? And these policies are automatically maintained by a third party for us, and they're automatically updated within the platform. And as they're updated, of course, the great thing about being a SaaS product is the customer is going to get the latest and greatest, the most current policies to run against their data set, right? And of course, you have different filter options, and all of this can create custom dashboards for you as well, right? So you can actually view different classifications within your top level dashboard, what we talked about just before this slide, and they can create a custom dashboard to view policies that are important to them. And then last but not least, right, once you've been able to index everything and be able to classify everything and tag everything, the great thing is the query system that we have built in. This allows you to quickly and easily find the data that you're looking for, so then you can make it actionable, right? You can do things like we have a file explorer type engine where you can actually go in and you can create as complex as a query as you like. And it's not, we don't expect you to know SQL and know how to type out a select query to find what you're looking for. There's actually a lot of different options within the query that are built in. So you can just do a quick search for something that hits a specific classification policy, that matches a specific tag, or hits on a specific content keyword, right? So this can really help you narrow that search. So instead of having to look at 25,000 plus files to try and find the handful that you're looking for, you can build a complex query out within our file explorer, and you can find that data set that you're looking for quickly and efficiently. And then you have the ability to pull it out of our platform into Excel or PDF, or even just take a streaming link directly out of the platform and be able to feed it into a third-party application. So then you can use a third-party application to further manipulate the data, display the data, whatever you want to do with the data, analyze it, right? So it gives you a lot of flexibility there.
I love it. Thanks, Sean. That was really great. I think one of the things that is the greatest, and why we'll talk about assessments in our partner program next, is that, you just explained, a lot of things that the platform can do. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, right? Like, oh my gosh, dashboards, pie charts. But the reality is we have a super quick way for our partners to go to market with our program and with our assessment tool that really goes into kind of that first identification slide that Sean talked about. Gives us the opportunity with our assessment program to identify customer data, scan it, and say, where is it? What are we doing? And there's a lot of things that our partners, a lot of use cases that would fit. Before we get into that, Adam, I'd like to have you talk a little bit more about the program, kind of the assessment tool that we use, that we actually take a lot of pride in being able to quick start our partner engagements so that they can see immediate value in the platform. If you could bring us into that conversation, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely, Amanda. Thank you so much. And Sean and Amanda, honestly, this is my favorite section to talk about today. It's our Advantage Partner Program, which gives our MSPs, CSPs, and VARs 3 different ways in which they can work with us. And our goal is to make it fast, simple, and profitable to get our partners started, right? So those 3 models include our assessment program, our managed services program, which think similar to VCAN or SPLA, being able to build services around our platform as a MSP or CSP. And then also our traditional VAR or reseller program. If we have partners that customers just want to own and manage the platform themselves, there's always a space. But right now, I really want to talk about our assessment program, which is an easy way to jumpstart the entry into the enhanced data lifecycle management services opportunity, creates an additional revenue stream, all while delivering end-to-end value to customers. We feel this is a unique program that helps our MSPs to perform several additional service options to add more value to their existing customers and future customers. So some examples of this could be as a pre-sales engagement, to do discovery and understand what the customer's data actually is comprised of, before starting a project, or as an option when you're engaging with a current prospect to help get that understanding as well. But also something to think about is the cloud migration space. And as we all know, it can take quite some time to migrate data. Having a platform or a tool in the tool belt that gives you the ability to scan this data first to grab only the valuable data is a huge benefit to our partners, and actually is something that can help save cost in the MSP's data center. So under the programs, we actually, we do a really good job of creating, special pricing for this assessment, because we want our partners to utilize the platform for themselves and see the really great value that it offers. So it's low cost. It's a per terabyte pricing option, and we make it really simple. And we created 2 tiers of this within the program. So you can conduct the assessments, with your customers or for your customers, via our easy to navigate portal on the dashboards. So as I said, we made this very simple, and this is public facing information. We've created 2 different tiers for our assessment program. These licensing types are made to be used with multiple customers during a month. You can move from one customer to the next customer to the next, as long as you keep it under the 25 or 100 terabyte limit per month, or at a time, actually. So you can really use this as that pre-sales tool or pre-engagement tool or for a cloud migration.
And just to chime in here real quick, Adam, when we're talking about this assessment program, it's important to note that the ease of deployment in which the Operavi platform enables you to conduct these assessments, right? It's pretty straightforward. All you're really doing is asking your customer for a machine to install it on. There's the downloadable is pulled directly from our portal. So once you create them an account, you log in, you pull down the installer, you run it, and you can immediately begin gathering this information for them. And then you come back, in a couple hours, all of this is already done for them, and you can immediately begin to generate reports and show them the value that you're bringing.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. And I know from sitting on calls with yourself and our other data experts, it does not take long at all to get this going for a customer to start the assessment. Remind me here, what was the time frame we looked at on our last one we did?
Yeah, it's probably about half an hour to get this up and running. Right? So it's
30.
Quick. Yeah.
Yeah, so 30 minutes of the customer's time and the partner's time in order to get this going, and really start to see the value of the data firsthand.
Sean, real quick, we had a question that came in during the conversation related to compliant data. How can you just kind of the quick answer to ensure that, during this assessment, we're not, seeing any compliant data, that, that there's encryption and all the things. Can you help me understand that?
Yep, absolutely. So it is important to understand how the Operavi platform works, right? We don't store any of the customer's information. So right there, right, we alleviate some of those security concerns because the platform itself is strictly just a presentation layer. They would actually deploy a component within their environment that they maintain and have full control over that's going to store the indexes and all of the information. So we actually have zero access to their files or any of their data. That said, right, we do also have, if you are using data actions and you are moving data to, say, like an S3 bucket or something, we do have encryption, compression, segmentation built into the platform, and they can, of course, leverage their own encryption keys for that.
Perfect. And you just, you kind of, you teed me up for the next slide, because you said S3 buckets and, those types of things. And, Adam just asked the installation and how long did that take for our last customer that we did. What I'd like to also understand is, what are we seeing from a kind of a go-to-market strategy and typical services that our platform enables for our partners to go to market with? If you could go into that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So just to talk about some of the expanded service offerings that are enabled through an assessment, right? If you remember earlier, I talked about how we like to approach things as kind of like a stair step, a tiered approach. It's kind of like a building momentum, right? So the first thing you want to do with the assessment is provide the ability to give the customer visibility into data that may be obsolete, trivial, redundant, right? So they can identify files that have duplicates, right? They can identify files that are older than X number of years that falls outside of their SLAs, right? And then once they have this information, they can make intelligent decisions based on these reports that we can generate for them, right? So if their concern is, hey, you showed me that 40% of my footprint is outside of my SLAs, right? Now, I don't want to store this on my file server anymore because this is really expensive storage, right? How can I make this more cost effective? I don't want to get rid of it, but I want it to be less expensive, right? So now we can wrap a policy around that. And within the Operavi platform, because you did that data cleanup and you provided that report, you can now just create that policy that says any files that you find that have been touched in 7 years, take it and move it to S3, to Azure, to S3 compatible storage, to my cloud, right? I'll store it for you, right? So that's some really great capabilities that we can enable with the data cleanup. And it's the same with the intelligent data management portion, right? But that just opens more doors for you because with intelligent data management, now you're going beyond just redundant, obsolete, and trivial. Now you're saying, look, Mr. Customer, you have a large amount of HIPAA data inside your file servers, right? This is just sitting out in your file servers. Anybody can access it, right? Could be a big problem for you, could result in fines. Why don't we get you hooked up with a secure storage solution? I'll wrap a policy around it, and now you can move anything that contains HIPAA data into this secure storage solution. So you're not in violation, you're not gonna have any concern about getting fined, etc. Right? And then last but not least, of course, we talked about that data lifecycle management, right? So the data actions portion can be a part of that. You can wrap services around that, right? You can offer storage service there. You can actually even take it beyond just a single tiered approach for the data lifecycle management into a multi-tiered approach for data lifecycle management. For example, I can say, take any file that haven't been touched in 3 years and put it in my cloud, but put it on a higher tier storage in my cloud that's still readily available, readily accessible in case they need it, right? But then after 7 years, take it and put it in this really cheap and deep, low cost cold storage because they're not going to touch it anymore, right? They haven't touched it in 7 years. I'm just going to stick it here where it's really unlikely that it's ever going to be accessed, but I'm going to keep it, right? So you can do those types of things automatically. You can offer those services automatically, provide a huge amount of value to the customer because you're not just lifting and shifting data anymore, right? You're doing things that are more intelligent, more just giving them a lot more visibility into where their cost is going.
Great. There's a question that came into about the type of S3 gateways that we interact with or that we have capabilities to move it to. If you
great question, right? So we have, of course, we support AWS S3, right? But then we also support S3 compatible, and S3 compatible is, I mean, for those of you that have been in the business long enough, you know that just because something says it's S3 compatible, I mean, is it really S3 compatible, right? So we are doing some additional testing with. We have an alliances team that does testing with a bunch of different alliance partners to ensure that they are indeed S3 compatible. So customers that are wanting to use S3 compatible gateways that are out there, like your Wasabi, your Backblaze, et cetera, right? They can, rest assured that it's been tested. It does indeed work. It is indeed compatible, at least with Operavi, right? So then those are things that you can offer.
Cool. Adam, real quick, just another kind of question that's come in, but I think this is where it's going. What's the average percentage of kind of RAT data that we see that our partners are finding with their current customers in terms of, data that they can, eliminate, move to a different archival per se, but the average percentage of data that customers have that is considered RAT after those assessments?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen actually up to 40% being ROT data when we've utilized the platform to do a quick scan and kind of assessments.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Obviously, that leaves a lot of room from a budgetary perspective that we talked about earlier, and just kind of building this case in terms of the unstructured data problem that we're solving, the ability for our platform to quickly scan that data and identify where there is RAT data. All of that is relates to a dollar amount, right? And
Yep.
how many times, from our partners' perspective, do they have their customers, their existing customers, coming to them annually, quarterly? Hey, save me money. Why is my IT budget increasing? You know, and I'm not getting approval for an additional budget, guys. So help me here. You know, can you speak to that at all, Adam or Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that one. So 100%. I think this is, kind of a trend, right? We all look at cloud storage and a lot of times with the service provider space, and it's kind of a race to the bottom, right? And when it comes down to it, customers are always kind of looking for that lower option, or they're trying to save money because their budgets are not expanded on a yearly basis. And the MSPs are taking a hit, but how that hit is taken is through their margin, right? They're not making as much on the deal that they're, presenting, or for the next year's term or 3-year term, whatever it may be, as they were previously, because we don't want to have, obviously in the MSP space, you don't want to have customers churning out. You want them to stay with you. And unfortunately, there's not a way other than taking a margin hit when you're working with the customer in order to do that. But this is a great way to do so, right? Making sure you're protecting what's important. There's not rot data associated with what you're storing, and utilizing S3 compatible targets in order to send anything that may be needed or needs to be saved, sending it to a colder storage method.
And I mean, I think it's very important to convey the message and the importance of what you're doing with a solution like Aparavi, right? Because cleaning up that rot data or data that's not important or not needed at the source has a cascading effect throughout the entire environment, right? Because you're not just saving them, storage space on their filer, right? You're now saving them the backup time it takes to back up all of those files. You're saving them backup footprint that it takes to store those backups that they were doing before blindly, right? So it has all these cascading effects, and then they can, not just reduce their footprint at the source, they can reduce their footprint in their backups in the cloud. They can reduce their costs and consumption, right? So this is a huge improvement, not just from a cost perspective, but also just from an efficiency and optimization perspective. Because if you think about what you're doing here, right, when you're shrinking that footprint, if there was a need to actually, God forbid, nobody wants to think about it, but if they were to have a disaster and they needed to recover that data, it's a lot faster to recover 50 terabytes than it is to recover 100 terabytes, right? It's physics. You can only do things so fast.
I love it. That's great. So what's next for us in this conversation and our partners moving forward is, obviously we've talked a lot about the benefits of the assessment tool, and it is something that the team has worked really hard on making sure is easy to consume, easy to implement for customers, and it gives our partners a very quick snapshot into what that rot data looks like, that all equates to a dollar amount, that all then gives partners the opportunity to add true value to their existing base and or net new logos, right? So we want partners to understand that the assessment tool that we've created can be used as a marketing tool. We will have a marketing and kind of a marketing toolbox created for our partners soon in our portal that we've got. Today, we'd like to definitely give an additional demo if we can, that goes deeper than Sean really talked about. It's kind of boring to see the screenshots. If you can see things in action, that provides a little bit more value and pizzazz to the demo. For anyone that'd like to request a demo today, we'd love for you to do it over lunch, and we'll provide you a $50 DoorDash gift card. All you need to do is enter your information into get.aparavi.com, and we'll be able to obviously contact you very quickly. But also like to let everyone here know that at the end of this conversation, we have some great marketing materials that we've created already for our partners to use to co-brand, that we'll be sending to you. For all of our partners that are here on the call that are current partners, we have this information available within the portal. So just go ahead and log in and you'll be able to get that info right at your fingertips. If there are no questions, which I don't think that there that they are, and I appreciate those of you that asked them during the conversation. We will end our call today and this conversation, and we will be sure to stay in touch with you. Go to get.apparavi.com and get that $50 DoorDash gift card and receive your demo ASAP. Stop burning the dollars of your customers, and let's get something started real quick. Cool. Thanks for joining. Sean, Adam, great to see you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you. Goodbye, guys.
Have a great day.
You too.